I'm Rabbi Josh Rose. This is the fourth in a series of teachings that I'm sharing Jewish wisdom from throughout the ages in hopes of giving us some tools to think about the process of teshuvah, that is personal transformation, and communal transformation that is part of the high holiday season. There's a very famous story about Noah, the guy with the ark and the flood. And the teaching is that the Torah says that Noah was a righteous man in his generation. And there are a couple of major ways that this has been interpreted and thought about. One of the ways is, yeah, he was a righteous man for his generation, but his generation was filled with all kinds of creeps who were selfish and had no compassion for the vulnerable, and they were cruel and they were violent. And so if you compare him to those people, sure, he was righteous. But if you stacked him up against truly righteous people from another generation that wasn't so twisted, he probably wouldn't fare that well. But then people have also interpreted it. There's a teaching in the Talmud that interprets it to be that even though he was amongst a generation and surrounded by people who were such negative influences, and surrounded by people who wanted to drag him down and wanted to do him harm, and even though he wasn't surrounded by role models and people who could inspire him, he never allowed himself to sink to their level, and he never allowed himself to be influenced negatively by them, and he held on to his principles and his righteousness even in that situation. So certainly if you put him in a generation where there were more positive influences, he would have been a shining light of righteousness there as well. And there's a deep teaching in there, not only about the influence that other people have on us and what it means to maintain our integrity, but the deeper teaching to me is that between these two interpretations, we can learn a lot about how we make choices in judging situations, and in particular in judging other people, which is what I want to talk about. Every day we make snap judgments about people we don't even know, and we see on the street, we see in the store, and the way they're dressed, or something they say, or whatever it might be. And our minds make quick judgments about them, very often negative. That seems to be our natural state that we have to fight against. Or we judge people who maybe we do have some familiarity with. And we judge people negatively, perhaps because it allows us to justify and rationalize our own bad behavior and our own bad choices, and it allows us to feel righteous in comparison to them, and thus prevents us from having to do any deep inner work to truly become righteous. But whatever the reason, when we let go of that judgment, or more to the point, when we are aware of the judgments we're making, and when we let go of the negativity and decide to be more compassionate in our judgments of people, and acknowledge that we never know the full story, and acknowledge that we too have our flaws and we wouldn't want to be judged that way. When we do that, we find not only that we're bringing out love to the other person, and that we're being gentler, and that we're more likely to treat them decently, we also will find that we can find it easier to let go of negative thinking on all kinds of things. So negative thinking breeds negative thinking, and negative thinking about other people is particularly harmful because it's damaging to others, and it's also damaging to ourselves. And so what I want to suggest is that we pay extra attention, and we should do this, of course, throughout the year, but that we pay extra attention in the month of Elul to how we view other people, and to try to judge them l'chaf zechut, as our tradition says, judge them favorably, compassionately, forgivingly, and to embrace them in love, and to try to think positive thoughts and let go of the negative thoughts. So try to do that, and also then that allows a door to open that allows us to explore why it is that we maybe gravitate towards negative thoughts and negative judgments about other people. As we head into Yom Kippur, not just as individuals, but as a community, this is so important to bring out love and admiration and compassion and struggle to relate to one another on that level. So I hope that teaching helps, and I'll talk to you soon.